Alright guys, Dustin with Vital Tradition here. I just want to walk you through the process of hitting new ice that you haven't been out on, or even that if you see other people. You should always scout it for yourself, look at the ice thickness and try and figure it out for yourself. Don't trust other people. Best way to do that is to get yourself a Spud bar. These are the long heavy steel poles. On the business end here you got a chipper, and that drives through the ice with each stroke as you go down. You can kind of see here and the idea is to figure out for you what each strike means as far as thickness in the ice. So I know based on experience that every strike is about 2 inches. So if I take a full swing, I don't go through and I chip the ice, that means it's about 2 inches for my swing. Then you go through and you kind of walk through all of that on the ice, and you just figure out what works for you based on your strength and your swing. It doesn't really matter one way or the other as long as you can use it to predict the ice thickness like before you walk. The idea is to swing it out ahead of you as you step, so that before you walk onto thin ice, you know it's thin ice, so you don't go through. There's nobody else out here. I've got a float suit on. Another important thing to point out is I got this Strike Master float suit. Had it for a couple years now. It's ridiculously warm. Like, I will wear shorts and a t-shirt under this in the middle of winter. It doesn't matter what the temp is outside because I will sweat in this suit. It floats. You go through, you'll float. And then you also want to have these ice picks around your neck, especially going out early season or on new ice. You should always have them on, but especially in those scenarios. Keep them around your neck so if you fall through, they're above the water or they're where your neck is. You can reach your hands up and you claw your way up across the ice using the metal spikes that come out of the end here. So as we walk here, I'm going to show you kind of how I would do this. Now you can see I've already come out here a little bit to see if this is even going to be worthwhile. I've got a little bit of a trail up ahead of me, and I know that's safe to walk on, but just imagine you coming out here and you see somebody's trail like that. You shouldn't trust it. Things can change overnight. You might have current underneath the water, underneath the ice, that would change the ice conditions even on that trail that somebody might have been safe on the day before. Always check yourself. So I'm going to walk you through this same process right next to it, walk you right out here and show you what I was doing. You can do this same thing hitting ponds, lakes, it doesn't matter. Anytime you're out on the ice, this is how you would test ice for the first time by yourself. Now notice, I'm striking pretty frequently. You'll see some guys go a little further. You do what you're comfortable with, but I like to strike more often on err on the side of knowing what's in front of me. Now that feeling's never comforting when you split open the ice and it goes like that. You hear a bunch of noise, but we are making ice and that's still pretty thick. So I've been walking here next to it. We're going to hit a few holes out here that I haven't hit yet. Kind of see it's still up there. And that's not real thick. It's thick enough to walk on, probably 3 or 4 inches. Generally in that early season, you're looking for that sweet spot. About 4 inches of ice is great for you and maybe your ice sled. I wouldn't be taking a four-wheeler or any sort of machinery out on 4 inches, but that's about a good safe ice thickness to get out and get after some early season fishing. I'm gonna grab my stuff here and see if there's anything swimming around. All right, next fun thing, next toy I'm gonna show you is something that's kind of made this a lot more fun, a lot easier for me. 2 seasons ago I upgraded to a Lithium 40 volt Strike Master ice auger, and man, it is a game changer. There's other brands out there, Lithium. I'm sure they all do the same thing as far as efficiency and function on the ice. It's a game changer. Not having to worry about fuel and pulling and noise and fumes and all that stuff. You got something that's super easy. Hand cranking in this thing, yeah, I'd sweat to death. You could definitely do it early ice because those are lighter. These aren't as light as a hand auger. So if you're only going through 4 inches, you don't have any snow in your way, you know, maybe you want to go hand auger, or maybe you want to go hand auger, it's a little cheaper. Either one would do, but anyway, I'm going to show you how this thing works here. I've got a cover for the blade to keep it sharp and also protect you at the same time. We're going to set this up here on the ice, and I'm going to show you how it works. All right, let's see what we got going here. All right, so we got our hole dug, drilled out, I mean. Set this bad boy down. And as you can see there on the video, we're gonna go ahead and confirm 4 inches on the button there, maybe 4.5 of ice. But that's how you would go through on your first time, checking the ice conditions here if you're getting out on your own. You go through, chip away, figure out. You don't have to come all the way out here to figure that out either. All you gotta do is just get on the ice, make a few jabs with your spud bar, drill a hole where you know you at least got safe standing distance, and maybe you're only in like a foot of water in case you do go through, but then you can verify after you drill the hole how much ice you're looking at. And that's the best way to learn. You just got to get the experience, get out there and do it yourself, so you can kind of see, put your eyes and hands on different ice thicknesses, different times of the year, and just start putting together a mental library for yourself, so that come out here early the following season, you already got that knowledge, and you can kind of come out and get after that early bite, which is usually really, really good. All right, so for starters here, we're just going to figure out if we got any fish down here. Another crazy awesome tool, if you haven't done so, get yourself an electronic fish finder, transducer, sonar, whatever you want to call it. It will make things way more enjoyable to see what's going on down there. Speaking of seeing stuff, helps to clean your screen once every 5 years. I'm pretty bad at it. All right, so you fire it up here. There's a battery in the back. Once you got it on, there's a transducer like you would have on the back of your boat, but it's on a float, so you got a clip to adjust the height of the float, depending on how deep your ice is. You just want it barely through the hole so that it dangles like right there. You don't want it so far down that it gets in the way of your fishing, and it also will falsely tell you the depth of the water you're fishing, because you're going to take away the distance from the cone to the bottom of the lake or pond or whatever you're fishing. So I'm going to lower my clip so that we're a little bit better here. Perfect, that'll do just fine. I'm going to take the slack back here so that it doesn't bum around in the hole too much. All right, we're going to turn the graph on here. And we're going to see if we see anything, which we do not. All right, I'm going to turn this around for you here so that you can see what I'm seeing. Now there's a fish down there. They're near the bottom. All right, we're going to see if we can't get something to show up here. We're using a small tungsten jig. We're going to tip it with live bait. You can use a spike or wax worms, either one. Go ahead and you see some people will nose hook these. I like to just thread it. And you just kind of have to figure out what the fish want. I don't see much on the way of marks here, but we're gonna get down there and figure out what's going on. All right, so here's a fish, and there is my bait. Right here, he's coming up pretty hot. I'm jiggling it, I'm gonna slowly raise up. And there he is. He bit it. Okay, we're gonna go back down. We're gonna kind of hang right here where he bit last time. We're gonna just jiggle it here. Here comes another fish. There's a fish sitting right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Here he comes up. He's coming up. Okay, we got one on here. And there you go. First fish of the ice season here for me. Pretty fun. Go ahead and get him back down there and see if we can get another one. Hopefully you guys can see that screen there pretty good. All right, we get back down there and get after. Usually where there's one, there's a couple. So if you notice, when you're doing this, especially for bluegills, but crappies too, you want to stay above them. And how far above them, you'll just have to figure out what their kind of deal is for that day. Sometimes way above them, sometimes just above them, teasing them. In general, I like to start by real short vibration in place, almost like you're just basically wanting to just vibrate right in the same spot in the water column, and that'll kind of attract them. And then once you see a fish kind of come in, you want to kind of read his behavior, which is why that Humminbird Helix 7 is so important, because you can see on the sonar history as it's going by here, you can see his action and how he's reacting to your bait. So if he starts coming up after it, well, obviously whatever you're doing, he's liking. And if he goes down away from it, he didn't like what you were doing. So you can kind of, in real time, change your cadence, change your height, and just see what the fish want to do. So you hear a lot of people say, well, you just kind of see what the fish, they'll tell you what they want. And I'm like, well, that's kind of what they mean. It's pretty ambiguous thing to say, especially to somebody who's never done it or is doing it for the first time or second time. It's just a different ball game reading sonar. It gives you the option to really figure out what the fish are doing and how they're reacting to your bait. Now see, I had a fish on there, I didn't even see it. All right, he just separated. I'm raising up, raising up, raising up. There, and he hit it as I was slowly raising up. Sometimes that's the ticket, where they want it kind of floating up away from them. All right, gotta love early season ice. No snow, super clear, fun, fun, fun. Let's get him back down. Now you may notice as I'm sitting here, my rod tip is a little bent. I had that stored accidentally a little wonky, had tension on it.
So I'm gonna have to figure it out if I can straighten that out, because it is definitely twisted. That's a little better, there we go. All right, I'm gonna get back down. Now I slowly lower my jig, because you can see it here on the graph. And you slowly lower it down, and you just watch it. You get down, and you wanna try and repeat. If you just caught a fish, you wanna go down and repeat exactly what you just did. Because obviously it worked that time. You might have something figured out. So you do it a few times, you catch a few fish, you're like, okay, so that's called a pattern. And you start to string a few of those things together, and over a couple seasons, you get to put it in the mental library and categorize it for that body of water, that time of the year. You get really specific with that size jig, that color jig, that size line, that kind of pole, that kind of movement. You get to fine tune all that as you go. But this is how you start, and that's the point here. We're just trying to get you started. We want you to feel confident, get out there and try it on your own, and then you can go in and dumpster dive into all the other information that's online and talking to guys in person. You get out and get after it for yourself. But this is how you start from scratch. Get out and try it and have some fun. Okay, I had a fish on there just looking at it. Here we go. There, he hit it. Boy, this is just fun. Out here by myself, and you just got fish all over down there. Probably bring the kids out later. All right, we'll catch a few more fish here. Vital Traditions first video. Little ice fishing action. Got a couple already through the ice. Let's go ahead and see if we can jig one up here for you gents. Now, one of the benefits of having the Helix units is you can run traditional flasher sonar here and use the flasher, or you can use the sonar like you would in open water on your boat. Typically I find myself using the open water stuff because you can again see the history, but occasionally it's nice to see the actual bottom here on the flasher and notice there's a fish sitting right there on the bottom, so that you can actually tease him up here, and then you can double over here and look at the history. You get the benefit of both in one of these units versus a straight flasher. Now obviously those Panoptics, the Garmin ones, and the 360 imaging, man, those are really cool units. The technology's awesome, but they are pricey, so it's gonna be out of a lot of people's price range, especially if you're just getting started. There's so many more pieces of gear you gotta assemble to really get going, and I would argue the most important thing, period, is just a flotation suit. Ice safety is no joke. It's a great way to die pretty quickly if you're not being safe out on the ice. So if I had 500 bucks laying around and I was getting into ice fishing, that'd be the first thing I'm buying is the full suit, the jacket and the bibs. And then I'll piece together an auger, and you know, you can borrow electronics from buddies or a pole even. I mean, you got to take care of safety first, especially on the ice. It's cold. Oftentimes you're by yourself. You just can't take chances. Once you figure out you like it, you can get after it a little harder and put some more money into it, but oh, there he is. Yeah, he wanted that. Oh my goodness. Just a lot of fun. All right. Well, that's a little bit of basics here on panfish action. Like I said, a little bit of live bait, just a jig, 2 to 4 pound fluorocarbon, and some braid backing on the old fishing spool, some ice braid, doesn't tangle. Get after yourself and have some fun. All right, we're gonna get them back, and that's it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe and like if you wouldn't mind, and we'll see you on the next one.